Hello, everyone, and welcome to ScubaTuber Live. My name's Brian Davis, and what I do in these live streams is I talk to other scuba tubers who've got successful YouTube channels, and we just find out a bit more about the person, how long they've been diving, why they started to dive, what they're going to do in the future, plans for the channel, all that sort of thing. You can all ask questions. You can put the comments up as we go along, and then we'll put them on screen and we'll answer them for you. So my guest today is Andy, the Northern Diver. And that when we say the Northern Diver, we don't mean the North Pole, we mean the north of England. Right. So yes, he has got a Northern English accent for people who are watching. He is the #1 in my mind podcaster on YouTube. He gets some amazing people and he produces some great podcasts. So I would, if you're not subscribed to his channel, I would suggest that you do, because I don't know how he does it. I wish I could do it, but he gets some amazing people to talk to from all around the world. So with no further ado, here's Andy Clark, the Northern Diver. Andy, welcome.
Mate, that is some welcome, that. Thanks very much.
You do really well on your channel, man, and so
cheers, mate.
Why can't you have a bit of praise, So
yeah.
So how's the weather at the moment?
It's been really nice today, and then I got in this afternoon about 1 o'clock, so a couple of hours ago, and it just started raining. So I managed to brave the nice weather today and then get in just in time to get out of it. So it's not been so bad, mate. How about there? Is it all right there?
Yeah, well, in fact, it's the wind's just come up. So this is tomorrow's the second time this year we can't dive on a Saturday.
No way.
Which has been amazing, because we do sometimes get these strong winds come through.
Yeah.
And when I was involved in the diving business here, you could guarantee it was every weekend. But since about June, since we started diving this coast again in May or June, we've had a tremendous run. We've had good seas, a little bit of wind and that, but nothing that wouldn't stop us diving. So yeah, we've been lucky. Now it's our winter, of course. I mean, the problem we have in the summer, we can only go out and do one dive because it's so, up at 40, 45 degrees, it's so hot. By the time you want to do a second dive, you're absolutely exhausted. And when you get off the boat, it's right at the hottest time of day and you do feel it. But now we can do 2 dives a day.
Were you doing some showing off earlier before we started filming this? Tell me how half millimeter dry wetsuit.
Yeah,
that's horrendous.
January was switched to a 3.
That's just ridiculous, isn't it?
Right, so let's find out a bit more about you. How long have you been diving?
So you'd be shocked to know only about 4 and a bit years.
Really?
Yeah. I had a lucky encounter with somebody who's a very, very good friend of mine now, Steve Kirkman, and I had the opportunity to get him on episode 1 and 2 of my podcast. And he's been diving for 20 odd years, but we just had a brief encounter in an office, and it just happens, it was over a brew. He was sat in the same office, and I said, I'm going to get a cup of tea. Do you want one? You fancy a brew? And we come back in and we got introduced to each other, who we were, and he said, I'm planning a scuba diving expedition to Fuerteventura. Do you fancy coming? And I was like, mate, I've always fancied scuba diving. I've just never had the chance. So it kind of rolled from there, and within a year, I'd kind of blitzed through most of the BSAC syllabus. I'd started some TDI qualifications, and before I knew it, I was doing all kinds of dives that I could never expect.
Was that through the army, all that training?
Well, the first one, because of the time, it was around January, February when me and Steve met, but the expedition was going out to Fuerteventura in October. So he said, in the meantime...
Was that with the Army Sabacus Club?
Yeah, it would be, yeah, joint services, yeah. So he said, before you come out to us, if you can join your local BSAC club, get your open water or your ocean diver certificate done, when you come out to us, you'll be more used to us, and we'll probably be able to get you through your sport diver. Well, obviously, that meant nothing. I had no understanding of what that was. So I went and joined a club. And then through that January, 7 or 8 months of training within the club environment, I managed to do the open water. or the ocean diver as it is with BSAC.
Yeah.
And then went straight out to Forteventura, did sport diver in a week. Now you can imagine there's a lot in sport diver. To do it in a week is pretty tough going. So we did 15 dives in that week. And every morning, every afternoon, and every evening, we were doing the lectures and the practicals. And on top of that, they were throwing rescue scenarios in that were like, you get on your dive leader. And then I went through my dive leader, through joint services and advanced diver on further expeditions out around the world. So rather than just learning in my local pit, you know, with crap viz, and it's always high tide and there's never too much wind, I was doing it in different sites around the world. So around Gibraltar, which I'm sure you know, it's got quite a bit of tidal sort of movement there. I did it all different places that you know you'd want to be trained in to call yourself an advanced diver, because you've been through all these different scenarios. So it was kind of like a baptism of fire. 12 months.
All right, can I just stop it there so people can understand, because we're going to talk about your day job.
Yeah.
But Andy is a British Army reservist, and I think you're in the engineers, looking at the T-shirt you were wearing earlier today. Either that or the military police.
No, so I was a reconnaissance soldier, so it was the Queen's Own Yeomanry. So we basically went forward of the sort of normal lines of the infantry, if you will, and scoping out the battlefield and telling sort of higher echelons of what's going on.
So what the Americans call recon scouts, I guess.
Recon scouts, that was it, yeah.
That's it, you're a recon scout. There you are. So the British Armed Forces, because we've got people from all around the world who come in and look at this later, actually have their own recreational diving unit and centre. It's called the Joint Services Sabaqua Club, if I'm not wrong, and they've got the Joint Services Sabaqua Centre down in Plymouth. So it is hard to get on some of the courses, I believe, to get onto that. But it's probably the best diver training you'll ever get, and they pay for you to go around the world diving. I'd sign up for the reserves tomorrow if I had that opportunity. Right? So it's really good. And the good thing is they follow the British Sabaqua Club, or what I you call the BSAC, but I'm geriatric now. It's BSAC now for everyone. Everyone calls it BSAC, right? Which, even though I've been a PADI SARB instructor, even though I'm an SSI instructor trainer, I've been a TDI instructor, I'm still a BSAC advanced instructor. It is still the best training in the world. And if you don't like that comment, slag me off in the comments, right? So let's just see who's online. We've got Justin, the Southern Diver. He is just going to make our lives miserable throughout this live stream. I'll warn you now, but he's a great chap. I mean, he's really funny. And someone's just come on and said, "Hello, Daddy. I'm your son." So someone's taking the piss. That's his cat, right? Kevin, right? Mark Windsor.
Oh, hi, Mark. You all right, mate?
Yeah, he's. I had him on the show. What? I mean, we would before, during, and after. We were just laughing.
He said you were on for about 3 hours.
What are you doing, Blue Mark? Hiding from hurricane? I think that Grid Hunter, aren't you hiding from typhoons?
Well, I interviewed Mark the other day, and I'm halfway through the edit now, and he said that he'd been on with you, and it took, you ended up chatting for about 3 hours, and I was like, well, I can't do that tonight. I haven't got time. And anyway, 3 hours later, we're still chatting away. It was brilliant.
David Street, the inventor, founder, entrepreneur behind the Protest Rebreathers in. Hi, guys. Hi, David. We're going to be asking some questions about rebreathers later, Dave. So you might actually have a potential customer in the room. Who knows? So you had this chance encounter, but why did you want to learn to dive? Was it something before this, or it was just you had the opportunity and you went for it?
I've always been one of these, if somebody would say, "Oh, what football team do you follow?" And certainly from being from Wigan, it's a big rugby and a big football town. Because
rugby league, isn't it, though, Wigan?
Yeah. So they always say, are you into your rugby or are you into your football? And I would always say I'm not. I'm into watching nobody. I want to do something for myself rather than, I don't want to be a spectator in life is my sort of thing. And in 2001, so I was 21 then, I had the opportunity to go for a try dive with a BSAC club in Wigan. And for whatever reason, it didn't happen. And I'm glad it didn't, because I would never have had the money, the lifestyle, or the opportunities that would have come my way later in life. I would never have had that then. So when I met Steve, it was always one of those sort of bucket list things that I would like to have done. But I just didn't realize how much of the bug it was going to get. It just sort of gripped me in a way that nothing ever has. There's so much to learn, so many good people that are doing it, and generally more sensible people, and mature, that you can ask them a question and get a sensible answer. Most of them will give you a sensible answer anyway. So I had always wanted to, but I can't explain why I got that bug. I don't know.
Yeah, it was just inside you somewhere, and then when you sat with your mate and had a brew and said, "Do you want to come with us?" That was it, right? Off you went.
Yeah.
So you learned with Joint Services Tobacco Club, well, with the BSAC branch, and then transferred over to Joint Services.
Yeah.
And that's brilliant, because the army pays for everything, doesn't it?
In a roundabout way.
But you also mentioned that you were done some TDI courses, as well. I mean, I don't think Joint Services is promoting TDI and stuff, is it? So where did you do those?
So similarly, Steve, again, within the first year, I'd finished my open water instructor as well. So I was a BSAC advanced diver, an open water instructor. And
now, can I just stop there, because I've just had something today with Simply Scuba. A BSAC advanced diver is a very, I mean, it's dive master plus. It's a dive master who can probably use a compressor. It's a dive master who can definitely drive a boat. It's a dive master who can organise dives, even expeditions to a certain extent. It is not an advanced open water. I've got 9 dive qualification. It is a very, and all the time I see people, I ask them, what level are you? I'm an advanced diver. I said, "Who's that?" "No, Paddy." I said, "So you're an advanced." I hate that, because everyone abbreviates it to advanced diver because they think it sounds cool.
It sounds cool.
But the only advanced divers you get in this world, people, are BSAC advanced divers. You heard it here first. The rest of you are just slightly more experienced open water divers, and I'm sure I'm going to get caned for that. Right.
Well, to elaborate a little bit on that, so BSAC Ocean Diver trains you to take you and a buddy of same or greater qualification diving without the need for someone to take you and show you where to go and how to dive. It teaches you how to plan the gas, the actual dive time, the run time, and the scenario that you're going to dive, the purpose.
And there's some rescue in there as well, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. I always forgot about that. So you are, legitimately, you and a buddy of the same qualification can go for a dive together without the need for a dive master, safety diver. You're completely of your own sort of, mindset and qualifications together can go and just take yourselves diving anywhere. From that, you go on to sport diver, which brings in more sort of nitrox, more rescue and first aid qualifications, and more managing of the dive site. So you'll start being a dive leader in that respect. You'll be the one that's more in charge of how long you're going to be down with in your buddy per. Forward from that, then you got your dive leader, which takes more control of the dive site and managing.
I'm just going to interrupt. So dive leader really is kind of the dive master.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
It's just for the other people who are watching. Sorry about that.
Yeah. You're taking control of a dive and managing that dive site. So pairing up different buddies, telling them how long they should be down, and then they go and disseminate that sort of set of orders down to the pair. And then forward from that, then you've got the BSAC Advanced Diver, which is all of that put together to a site perhaps that you've never dived before over a period of days. So expedition planning, not expedition in the terms that perhaps Phil Short would use, taking 40 or 50 people over a couple of months to a dive site, with loads of logistics. Just could be your dive club over a weekend to a site that nobody's dived before. And in that, you'll plan your fuel stops, where you get air fills or gas fills, where your local dive site is, the entry, the high tide, low tide, all that kind of thing. And again, managing that down to your dive leaders and sport divers and so on. So there's a lot of diving experience and tick boxes required at depth. and over different gases and in different scenarios. So it could be you're getting in on a drift dive, diving from a hard boat or a rib or from a shore, or loads of different scenarios that perhaps you wouldn't encounter.
And I think that's an important point. When we're talking about the BSAC, I'm getting there. I'm not calling it the BSAC anymore. The great advantage of diving with the BSAC club is that they do tend to organise their own diving. A lot of them have their own rib, ridge-hole inflatable. A lot of them rent hard boats completely and take them out. And if you're in the UK and overseas, they have a big overseas. We had 3 BSAC branches here. One in Abu Dhabi, I think that's dormant at the moment, but one in Dubai. And last weekend was the 50th anniversary of Sharjah BSAC. So
really?
They're all around the world and they dive every weekend generally. So they are very self-sufficient. And nowadays they welcome divers from any qualification. If you just want to go diving, you go with them, but you progress your career within the club using the BSAC qualifications. And I would encourage any PADI, SSI, MIDIA, whatever SDI diver to actually join a BSAC club and go for the advanced diver qualification, which is not the highest grade, by the way. We do have a grade called first class diver, which is not for everyone. It wasn't for me. I had the opportunity to do it, and I regret that now. I regret that very, very much. And because we had national instructors out to do it, and like when you're young, why do I need that? Now I'm 62, and I had the opportunity, and everyone's saying you're an idiot, but when you're in your early 30s, you know everything. So sorry about that. So what's your highest level of certification? Go on then.
You answer your initial question, why TDI and what with TDI?
Yeah.
So I'd done my advanced diver. So in BSAC terms, a qualified diver at that point now, a fully qualified diver. And I'd done my open water instructor, which normally takes a number of years over 4 different types of exams. So you've got your instructor foundation course, then you've got your practical instructor's exam, your theory instructor's exam, and your open water instructor's course, which are normally, I would suggest, done a year at a time. I did them in 5 days. So that was a bit of another baptism. And certainly within my first year of diving, and I just touched 100 dives. So you can imagine I was going hell for leather. In fact, no, my first dive was in the September and I'd qualified the end of March. All of that done.
Right.
So I went out.
That's the beauty of something like the joint services, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they consider it leadership training as well, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, that's why the army or the armed forces do adventurous training. It boosts leadership, moral courage, puts you in scenarios that you're normally scared about, and then that can be replicated on the battlefield in some respects. So I got invited out.
The other thing, I was talking, I think it was I was listening to your podcast with Dom, or was it when I was talking to him? But it's one of the few situations where a young soldier can be telling a lieutenant colonel what to do, right? And he has to do what he's told. That cracks me up.
It's quite intimidating too. Mine was a full colonel, and we were calling him by his first name, so it was really weird, but it worked. But so yeah, I quite happily got invited out as an instructor the week after passing my instructor's exam to go out on another diving expedition, 2 weeks in the Canaries, and to take some people through their open water the ocean diver and into the sport diver. And I did my 100th dive. I did it naked, which I think everyone should be doing nowadays, according to the Facebook page, 100th dive.
Yeah, we'd have a bit of trouble with that in Dubai.
Well, yeah, you might get it chopped off.
Yeah, and my 100th dive was in Saudi Arabia, so
definitely clothed.
But it might have been naked.
I'll be honest.
There was no cameras then, of course. There's only Nick 5.
Well, I just dropped my shorts off. Just undid my waist belt and my crotch strap, whipped my shorts off, got a quick picture, done. And after that finished, I stayed in country for another couple of days and did my what do you call it now? Advanced nitrox and decompression procedures.
Right. Well, that was the BSSC one.
No, that was TDI.
That's TDI one, yeah.
So with BSAC, it's called ADP, advanced.
That's right. Yeah.
Accelerated decompression, isn't it? Whether I was ready for that or not at that point, Brian, I don't know. I wasn't doing that kind of diving that needed it, but while I was on that steep learning curve and I had this thirst for knowledge, and the instructor was a mate of mine, I was never going to get like a paper pass. It was always he would really put me through my paces. But I thought at the time, he's the guy that would teach me it the way I wanted to get taught it. So kind of convinced me to get on and do it. And it was a cracking course, hard work, at depth on Earth at 50 meters. You're just like that, trying to work out what you're supposed. You're so narked, it's untrue.
But you see, in the BSAC,
yeah,
because of the old days, 8 minutes at 50 meters on air, RNPL table, and now it's all. Again, I was talking to Dom, and I said, there's all this controversy and stuff about primary donate. Well, guess what? We learned primary donate in 1982. It's called buddy breathing.
Yeah.
So where are you qualification now wise? Where are you at the moment?
So really, I've not progressed as a diver in the water, but I've done what a lot of agencies call specialities. So again, through I'm going to say the BSAC then, through joint services, I was fortunate to go down a couple of years ago, did my diver coxswain. I've since learned side mount with Gary Dallas. I've got to give him a shout out because he is one of the best instructors in the world. Certainly for side mount, he was the one I wanted to teach me. Yeah, and he taught it through RAID. So I'm not against other agencies in any way, whether it be, people say BSAC versus PADI. I'm not against any.
Yeah, well, I think some of the agencies, and I'm a big BSAC fan, but I think when it's come to technical diving, and on Sunday when I talk to Dom, I'm going to delve into that a bit more. I think definitely places like agencies like TDI and RAID are kind of pushing the boundaries faster. Whether that's a good thing or not, I don't know, because to go deeper than 80 meters in BSAC, you've got to get permission from the National Diving Officer, where with other agencies you can regularly go to 100. So I understand that, I understand that. But again, the BSAC is, and people have to understand this, or BSAC is run by volunteers. So it's never going to move really fast, and it is going to be a certain extent risk adverse, and it's also the governing body for the United Kingdom for scuba diving. So I get it that especially advanced divers who want to progress quickly have got to go and do stuff with other agencies.
Well, I kind of seek out the instructor first, because I think I think that's
it in tech. That's what everybody says in tech. Don't look for an agency, look for an instructor.
Yeah, I mean, we've all got the same. It's all going to end up in the same place, really, aren't you? Within a few meters of each other.
I've heard of Gary Dallas. There's a guy in the Philippines called Andy Davis, an ex-RAF officer, and there's a handful around the world. In here, we've got a fantastic technician named Simon Nadeem over on the East Coast. In tech, I think it's important you look out the instructor first, then the agency. Whereas it's a bit different in recreational scuba diving. Nearly everyone wants to learn PADI, right? When they want to go on their open water course. So I think you're absolutely right.
I'd argue that was out of ignorance. PADI is so well known. Most people are born with that in their vocabulary. Whereas I've heard of SDI or SSI or INTD or any of these other ones that are perhaps not as well known. It's just out of ignorance. I've got to get my PADI. That's what people say.
My mum used to call the vacuum cleaner a Hoover.
Yeah, right? I think everyone does over in the UK. Certainly in Wigan.
A couple of comments from Critter Hunter. I've had him hanging on there on purpose. Now this octopus thing with Critter Hunter, right? We've got this critter challenge, and
I'm on. I've got one.
Has he given you one? What's he given you?
Well, no. Mark Wynn gave it me a couple of months ago. It was for a John Dory, and I was supposed to be down in Plymouth last week, which we'll touch on later. And that's where the only place in the UK I would have been diving to have seen one. But because we're now in lockdown again, I haven't seen one.
Right. So anyway, Critter Hunter. I mean, he's got me on a guitar sharp, but I've done it right. But I've got a few things up the sleeve with the guitar sharp. Normally I take the piss out of Mark and Critter Hunter because they give me a challenge. I go off and get it done in a couple of days. But a guitar sharp in a few weeks. But it's going to be worth the wait. It really is. So he's hiding from Octopus because he got an Octopus challenge. He's come up with all sorts of excuses. But there's another scuba tuber called Dive Monster who dives the same place as he does, and he's found them.
Right.
So he's getting a big rib. He's getting a big rib on this.
Good.
Oh, this is about his 100th dive. I don't know. Wow, Critter Hunter, it's that big, is it? I hope Judea's watching. That's his missus.
Right.
Right. Okay. Right.
Oh yeah.
So
I didn't know.
So now I did listen to your podcast with Dom Robinson for two reasons. One, I've got both of you on live stream, both of you this week, funnily enough.
Nice one.
And you are taking the plunge into rebreathers, I believe.
I'm afraid I am. For my bank balance and bank manager and wife, I'm afraid I am. Yes.
And have you decided? You were talking about the JJ, which seems very popular.
Yeah.
In fact, as an aside, I think it was developed by Dave Thompson, right?
Did he start off at AP?
Yeah, he was the inspiration. He was my inspiration instructor.
Yes, it must be the same guy then. I don't know his name, but yeah, that's the story I heard.
Yeah. Now, when I was listening to some of the webinars that Dom's done, JJ are not allowing the BSAC to develop a rebreather course because of their commercial considerations and stuff. Yeah. So is that going to affect your decision to go with a JJ?
If it is, it's too late because I've just paid for it.
No, I think there are people in BSAC diving JJ. I think even in Dom's Sound Club there are some. All right. Yeah. Well, you're not going to get a BSAC qualification for it anyway.
Oh well. Got it.
Oh yeah, I can see that. You know.
Well, yeah. So I put a few. No, let's date back a little bit. So February this year, I went to the dive show down in Coventry. It's called Go Dive 2020. And I think it was Mark Evans from Scuba Diver magazine. I think he was the one who put it together. I might be wrong, so please don't give me loads of grief if I'm wrong with that.
Yeah, I think he did because he was doing some live interviews and stuff and putting them online.
Yeah. And I bumped into a guy who I know, Alan, who runs TechWise and DiveWise out in Malta. And he had a JJ sat there and I looked at it and I was like, that is a beautiful piece of kit, that.
You've definitely got the bug. You've definitely got the bug.
And I'll be honest, out of my own ignorance, I don't know it or didn't know any difference between that and the next rebreather. But I did like the look of it. And the majority of the ones we see, the AP ones, they've either got a black or a yellow box and look a little conservative for me. I'm all about fashion over function. Which is ridiculous.
From a soldier.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. You've got to look good to be good. That's the attitude I go with. So I did a bit of research and put a few fingers out and asked a few people questions of who should I go with as an instructor for this and that. So I asked Andy Torbit of BBC and God knows other James Bond fame and all the rest of it. He was one of them that answered up and said that I should speak to Kieran Hatton. I know he's based out of Plymouth, which is great for me because I know the area. I know the dive sites somewhat. So it's not unfamiliar territory to me. He's UK based. So I feel like, well, if I've got a problem, I can probably just nip down for the weekend and get that sorted out rather than if he was somewhere around the world, I'd probably struggle for it. And he is a rebreather trainer. JJ rebreather trainer. So he does a few other units as well. So I got him on and I did a podcast episode with him, interrogating his understanding of a rebreather from let's say a layperson's point of view, asking him different acronyms. What's this for? Why do I need that? Do I need this? Do I need that? And settled on the JJ after that conversation, which out of all the podcasts I've done, that was probably the most technically inspired one that got so many views, perhaps because it answered a lot of other people's questions. And it went really well, to be fair. And I really warmed to him. He had the same sort of dry sense of humor as me. So I knew when I got to the dive site, me and him would click really well and just get on. Obviously, I could have gone to somewhere else in the world and bought the JJ cheaper, and in turn would have not paid the VAT on it and would have paid the hotel and the trainer fee and had nicer weather. I want to train on it in the hardest, seas possible.
Yeah,
and the UK is pretty gnarly, isn't it? There's lots
Yeah.
of tide, lots of colour in the water, lots of particulate. It's never good weather. So if I can train on what's going to be my now hardest piece of kit to train on and do it in a hard environment, whenever I go anywhere that's nice and easy, whatever it throws at me shouldn't really be too much of a dilemma. That's train hard, fight easy sort of mentality.
Yeah. No, I agree with it. Just because poor old David's probably saying, "Oh, I missed the chance to sell one." The reason David got into making his own rebreather is he wanted a bailout rebreather. So the Proteus, and the only reason he's making a full back mount unit is to get CE certification, because they won't certify a bailout or a side mount. So, but I'm sure he might be in touch with it. But we worked together years ago, and I had him on. I just can't believe it that he's similar age to me, that he just decides in 2012 I'm going to develop a rebreather. You're nuts.
Never too young to try, are you? Always gives.
Yeah, but I think the JJ's got a good reputation.
It has, yeah.
Yeah, what people here tell me is, it's taken everything that was learned on the inspo and then just improved. So I think it made a wise decision there. Number of dives now.
So I had to have a look before, so I dug out my joint services diving log. So logged dives, so not counting pool dives or silly little training dives or anything like that, is, one sec. The last one was the 29th of October. I was doing a photography course, and it was 332. So I was averaging 100 a year till this year. And I think if anybody's done, that's just a recreational diver like me, if anyone's done 100 dives this year, well done. You must live on the coast and you must be really lucky.
Yeah, I mean, the lockdown is really...
it's been pretty bad.
Right, favourite dive location?
I had to put some massive thought into here, because there's loads of reasons why I would say one was better than the other.
Well, I'm paying for the whole weekend. Where do you want to go?
Malta, I'd say.
Because a lot of people say Malta.
I think the food, the beer, the wine, the people, and the dive centres are all absolutely spot on. You might give them all 8 out of 10, but they'd still score overall higher on my book of the places that I've been within a couple of hours of the UK. Easy to get to. The climate's nice. The water's all right. There's lots of stuff to see.
You can shore dive as well, can't you?
Absolutely, yeah. So there's nothing a Billy Basic B-sack diver couldn't do at that place.
Yeah, I've not dived Malta. Can you believe that? I've dived all around the world, and I'm not. Yeah, but once this is over, Dave Street and I are going over to Malta, because he lived there, I think, for 7 years. And
the bathtub doesn't count.
Who's this here now? Let's see. Here we go.
The bathtub doesn't count.
Critter Hunter, I've done 100. Well, Critter Hunter, you're a full-time YouTuber. If you don't do 300 a year, then you don't qualify. PJB, the bathtub. Oh, and then I've dove 12. Oh, here we go. I told you this will happen. I did tell you that this will happen.
It's fun, isn't it?
Right. I'm paying everything. Business class tickets, all the diving, everything. Where do you want to go?
Again, I struggled with this, so I'm going to have to give a bit of a corporate answer.
I don't make this offer very often, right? And you get $5,000 spending money.
Bloody hell. Honestly, I really don't know. So what I've put here, it'd be something with good viz and lots to see and do. I know it's a bit wishy-washy, but we could go anywhere in the world and have crap viz. We could go somewhere that we've never been off the beaten track and have nothing. So I guess the stereotypical boring answer, because I'm more of a wreckhead, it would be Truck Lagoon.
There you go.
Everybody says that. So I was trying to be a bit more diverse and give like a cool answer. I can't give you one.
Bikini Atoll?
A bit deep at the minute for me. I'm not trimix, so maybe just a bit on the depth.
Well, we won't go in next weekend. You're all right, mate.
2020 never.
Ryan Mystery, nice to see you again, Sir Ryan. Wow, thank you. Nice to see you, Ryan. Don't get those compliments very often. PJB, I'm no diver, but it's something I'd love to do someday. I appreciate what you guys do. PJB, he's just subscribed to my channel. He's a big supporter at the Critter Hunters channel.
Cool.
Right, liverboard or land-based?
Oh, it'd have to be land-based because I like my food and I like a little bit of space every now and again. Whereas a liverboard, I enjoy the wake up first thing in the morning, straight off the side of the boat, and you can be doing that all day till you pass out at night. But purely the only liverboard I've been on is in the Red Sea, and I can't get a bacon butty, and there's no red wine on tap unless I bring it myself. So it'd have to be land-based, I'm afraid. Just because I can't get a bacon butty.
Oh, right. Okay. So Truck Lagoon would be okay for you then.
Hope so. I'm saving for that now.
Yeah. Right. Money no object. Where would you live?
I'd get myself. If I won enough money on the lottery, do you watch the Formula One?
Yeah.
So when they go to Monaco, or even when they're in Abu Dhabi, they have all them big gin, champagne, palace yachts on there.
Yeah.
I'd just have one of them and travel the world. Just go from dive site to dive site to dive site, rather than just be fixed. I'd just be mooching around the world.
Brilliant answer. And if I was younger, I would actually get myself a big sailing catamaran.
Yeah.
But when I retire in 3 years' time, I'm just gonna fly to different liverboards and then spend a few months in the Philippines, Indonesia,
awesome,
and that. But cool, good answer. That's the best answer I've had for that one.
Well, I think to invite like friends, family, guests on, they can all help out on that boat. They don't necessarily have to pay the way because you just won zillions of pounds, haven't you? But
yeah, they fill tanks to you, right?
Well, yeah, absolutely. As long as they scrub the decks, it'd be fun, wouldn't it? And what's life about if it's not fun and diving? It's not worth living.
I've got one for you, Andy. East Timor or Papua New Guinea?
PNG for me, I think.
Me too. I've heard good things about it. Critter Hunter, which one for you? Right, what motivated you to become a ScubaTuber podcaster?
So, 20 years ago, I got my first camera, started making videos. We used to ride on BMX in skate parks and trails, and we were always videoing each other. So I spent a good 3 months and made my first ever film. It's about 40 minutes long. You'll never find it if you look for it. It's a load of rubbish.
Right. Is that the title?
Have we gone off? Are we back?
No, we're there.
All screen went blank then. So when I got into the water diving, it was straight away, I need a GoPro. I need to be showing people what they're missing or what we are seeing. And quite quickly, because I had this love for having a computer and faffing, I've never been a gamer. It was always, I'll try and just put some clips together and make a bit of a video. And I saw other people were doing the same, so I thought, well, I'll just have a go at that. And I struck up a sort of deal with Northern Diver that I'd trial some of their gear late last year. And it was, they have an electricore vest, so like a heated vest. Very simple for the recreational diver, very cheap in the grand scheme of costings. So I thought, well, what I need to do is get myself a platform that when I'm more seriously testing this kit and I'm doing it perhaps more regularly for other people, I've got a platform to show this off. So I started the YouTube channel, put all my videos on, and it didn't do very well at all. So that was like September through till March. Literally.
Last year.
Yeah. So 2019, September, I had about 100 subscribers in about 6 or 7 months. Very few views. The engagement was really poor. But what I hadn't done is done my due diligence. I didn't know what you had to do to be a successful YouTuber. I didn't know that collaborations was the future, or that your thumbnail was the most important thing, and then your description, and then your hashtags. So I didn't know anything about that. So when lockdown started, I came across a couple of different YouTube channels that taught that kind of stuff. So I spent about a week looking through it all and making tons of notes. And I thought, right, well, how can I start from scratch without starting from scratch? and really for the first month of lockdown, just revisited everything I'd made, changing everything that these were making suggestions, and tried to be more me. You know, I was dead serious on some of the videos, trying to be really straight cut and sensible and you know, just not myself. There was no smiles in any videos, no jokes.
I love the one you did about the DSMB. That cracked me up, where you're just lying there in your garden doing it.
And then I got clicked to my coffee table, and then my kitchen table, then top of the stairs. But that's what it's about. I think if you can't engage with people, if you can't make them smile, or if you don't even smile, you're almost like embarrassed about what you've done. Nobody's going to engage with it. So I think that's the turning point for me, was learn to be more myself and do the fundamental things that make people engage with your content to start with, capture them, you know, hook them as such.
And it is a slog when you start off, of course, because there's people have got lots of choice. But it is soul destroying when you go a week and you've not got one new subscriber. You go, why am I doing this? I mean, I've still not even hit the magic 1,000, but I'm motivated because I'm already on pro rata the 4,000 view hours. Right? People watch my stuff. The problem I've got is 80% don't subscribe. But my view hours. Isn't it? So I know my content's interesting to people. It's just, how do I get them to? But I think that just goes, and then when you do things like this, and when then YouTube starts. Now I see that when I go on someone else's phone, I look Dubai scuba diving, I'm up there in the first 10. You know, there's still the number one guy, still some guy 12 years ago dived off the beach, has got 6,000 views, is there. But I get several now. When you look for Dubai scuba diving, I've got several videos in the list, so they're starting to promote it again. And who's traveling at the moment? Nobody. Who's traveling for scuba diving, so they're not going to look Dubai scuba diving, Fujairah scuba diving. So, but I've concentrated on doing the best content I can, you know. And then, but I'm motivated because I've got the views. You know, I've got not many subscribers, but bloody hell, people are watching it, and that gives me a buzz.
I think the downside is when you do eventually flip over that 1,000, 4,000, that your content changes then, because you're going to have adverts straight at the beginning and sometimes in the middle, and I find that slightly off-putting, if I'm honest. So I don't know whether when I do reach that, am I going to monetize? I never did this to monetize it. And I don't think there's enough money in it unless you're hitting 10 million views and all this sort of stuff. I don't think there's enough money in it to warrant doing that. But what it does do, it sort of, the algorithm picks that up and promotes you more, which I've seen a massive growth since hitting the 1,000. I've seen the changeover for numbers of subscribers per day. And I've not used a bot. I've never used anything, you know, untoward other than try to make my content better. I know I rush my videos. I could certainly.
I think we all do. I think those of us who work for a living and do this. Every time you put a video up, you just say, well, I wish I could have just done that. I mean, I did one the other day on $20 dive cutter, and I'd forgotten that I'd shot some video on the boat, and then I was just checking some SD cards. Oh, shoot. I nearly swore then. Shoot. I mean, that would have just made the video. And I thought, do I take it down and re-edit it and put it back up? No, you know, it was still a good video. It still showed people a good $20 titanium cutter. And it's always a compromise. You know, I used to be a perfectionist, and the first ones, the disinfection video, took nearly 6 weeks because I just changed it, and then I had to check this, I had to check that. And then end of the day, you've just got to get the content out. You've got to be good content, but it doesn't have to be perfect. That's what I've learned. And I'm with you. When I get to 1,000, I'm not sure that I will monetize just for ads, right? For me, it's just getting, what I want is YouTube to promote the channel. So I'm not sure. I think you can make much more money being an affiliate marketer through the site and that sort of stuff. I'm with you, but it is just nice for your pride to get the 1,000 subscribers, right?
Absolutely. It was like, honestly, I was absolutely buzzing. And my wife knew it was coming. She got a bottle of champagne in, she got some cakes in, and then we watched it tick over. Not that I'm sat there on my phone all night, but you know, every now and again you have
I'll be there.
But literally, as it happened on the Saturday night, she come running in and say like a little birthday cake kind of thing, you know. And it was a year to the day from when I started up. Strange.
Brilliant.
How weird's that?
Brilliant.
But as far as why I started the podcast, I don't know whether you get this over there, but there's a show on in the UK. It's on Channel 4 and it's called SAS, Who Dares Wins.
I've heard
got
of
a load
it. I go to the UK 3 or 4 times a year normally, or more.
Yeah.
But I'm not recently, of course. But Dubai's now just on the safe travel list with UK, so I can go pretty soon. Good. But I've seen it. Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah. So there's obviously, for those who haven't, there's a load of ex-Special Forces guys. I think most of them are SBS, which is weird, isn't it? They're all SAS. But anyway.
Squeaky boat service, right?
That's it, yeah. And there's one guy on there, Jason Fox, that was discharged from the military for the mental health grounds because he had PTSD. So he's a massive sort of ambassador for mental health now, and he talks about it in all sorts of guises and all this. And he started a podcast, and he gets on there. They're not always a disabled person or someone that's got problems, but the people that have come through adversity, that really have strived through their life, to do something against the odds, whether it be swim the Atlantic, climb Mount Everest, or things like that. But the way he converses with them are very much like I think, or like to try to do on my podcast for this, fancy a brew. If you came around to my house now, you'd come in, I'd say, do you want a brew? And we'd probably sit down around the kitchen table and chew the fat for an hour. Yeah. That's kind of how he does his, but I don't know if someone writes his questions for him or he's just really good, but that influenced me to do it in the way I do it, hoping that I can emulate that in some way. But there's a good friend of mine, Kevin Gillam, that reached out during lockdown. It was about May time. He said, Andy, I've been listening to podcasts while we've been off, loads of them, and I think you'd be really good. Why don't you do one? And it would complement your YouTube channel. And I thought about it for about 10 minutes. And then I've been listening to another particular, I'll not name and shame, one in the UK that I thought could do the job better. Or I could, there's ways and means about doing it, whether you've got a right microphone or how you do the post-production stuff.
Well, you helped me out tonight, didn't you?
Well, just by having a set of headphones and a proper microphone, you cancel out that background sound. But not if you don't know what you don't know, do you?
Yeah, so, yeah.
So I was sat there thinking, I could do a better job than you. And I really want to do a better job, but I really want to engage with different people, because where I would like to end up as a diver, without doing what we're doing now, we're never going to get there. Nobody will give you an opportunity. You've got to go and find it. So through Kevin's influence and Jason Fox, or Foxy as he's known, through his sort of good, really high-end podcast, I think, that made me think, let's get on it and go. So I started it up. It was hard work at first because I didn't really know how to manage the post-production. I didn't have a proper microphone, and, it's like using Zoom. Sometimes as it downloads, the internet connection might not be great. So I've changed it all around. I've got an office now. It's all hunky-dory. Sound quality is good. I video it off a proper camera, so we get much better camera quality. But I don't show that. I just like the interaction. And it's come on leaps and bounds. So we're nearly on episode 50. And we
I know. Let's get some comments out of the way, because they're all coming up. And I do like them all.
David Street.
He's got something. We'll go through them one by one. I mean, he's a sweet talking guy. He must be talking about, no, me 39, I wish. Good answer. PNG, I guess. Team. He's PNG, so he looks like he's going to get us a sponsored trip, right?
Hope so.
Good Hunter's back. Marshall Islands or Mauritius? Well, I've been to Mauritius. Definitely the Marshall Islands for sure. They got tiger sharks, I believe.
I'll go with that.
Lots of them. But I wouldn't mind going to Reunion. This is Crid Hunter's wife. Hi, Julia. I don't know if you've been following the comments, Julia, but Critter Hunter has been sort of maybe exaggerating the size of his donger, I think he called it. We would like to know if that's true.
Okay, then.
Brian, you said shit, naughty. Right, I said shit, right?
Oh, no.
Thanks, PJB. We love your comments. David Street. Does Andy see himself as an educator or influencer? That's a good one. Very good question.
That's a tough one. I'd say neither. If I was going to describe myself, I'd just say I was a diver that likes talking to other people about diving and likes going diving. I never became an instructor because it was like a path that I wanted to follow. It helped me go on more expeditions through the military. So I'd see more of different countries, dive in different settings and scenarios. I'd meet new people, and it's been a great sort of backbone or start point for me to do what I'm doing on YouTube with my how-to videos. Influencer, nah. If people like what I do, great. If they don't enjoy what you do, I don't really mind. So neither, I guess.
Yeah.
Sorry, David.
Yeah, that's a good answer. Captain Eelgrass. He's funny. He's got this small YouTube channel. He's up in, I think, Washington State or Puget Sound, and he goes out. He puts his camera down, and I think this week he's been doing Wallfields. He's got a lot of octopuses. Really nice channel. He hasn't got as many viewers as he should have, because some of the stuff he puts out there is very, very high quality. Captain Eelgrass, good to see you on board. Critter Hunter. Andy, what's the weird fish in your channel banner? Right. Looks like my ex.
So there's a bit of a story that goes with this. So we got married a couple of years ago, and I found a logo that was very similar to that. But so the diver with the coloured mask on had like a hard hat, like a hard hat diver, and he didn't have the false leg.
Morgan,
yeah, so he didn't have the false leg, and it was just with a mermaid. So we kind of used that as our logo to go with our wedding planning and all the rest of it. And because I've got a dodgy knee, I don't have a false leg. That's why I did the little change. Sorry, just trying to get it orientated so you can see it on the camera. So I changed it to have a false leg. But then when I started this YouTube channel and my podcast, I thought, well, it isn't my drawing, although I've altered it. I don't want to come unstuck in future years that I've nicked somebody else's IP, their intellectual property. So I've got a good mate of mine around the corner who is a designer. And I said, I want something similar to this that emulates me and my wife, because she dives as well. So this is his design. So big up Mike from Atkinson Roberts Creative, and he let me have this design for doing him a couple of favors on his house for what I do for a living. So that was good. Right. So it's just a mermaid.
Right.
Question.
So now your wife, is she obsessed with scuba diving as much as you are?
Some might say she's more obsessed with me than she is with diving, which is why she's diving.
Some might say, all right, Clarkson.
I'd like to think that she loves diving as much as I do. But my best mate, Murph, he texts me all the time that she only dives because she likes me and she wants to be near me because I'm always diving. So it but I think she does love it. She's well into it. She dives on a dry suit, on a twin set, dives deep.
On a twin set, wow.
Oh yeah.
So when's she getting her rebreather?
On the 5th of November.
Never ever. Critter Hunter, I don't know why you can't see David Street's comments. Seattle area, that's it. Yeah, I always get it. Sorry about that, Captain Eelgrass.
Oh, I've just seen what Critter Hunter's asking. What he's asking was, he meant on my YouTube channel background, I've got a picture of an angel shark that's swimming past me and its dorsal fin's just kicked up. I thought he was on about this one. So yeah, we were in Lanzarote in January, again with Steve, who got us into diving. It was my first real trip away with a decent camera and some lighting. So we got in front of this angel shark on the old town of Porto del Carmen. And there's I think 3 or 4 wrecks at about 35, 40 meters. And they're all set out. And normally I'd be in and out those wrecks, really scroping through them. Like a kid on an adventure playground. That's what I'm like on a wreck. But because I took my camera and there was this angel shark just lied there, waiting for a male to come up and give her the good news, we just went and took loads of pictures of her. And then we swam off and she kind of followed us. And she did this real good flyby. And just by chance, I had the settings just right on my camera and just took about 3 shots as she swam past. And the one on my YouTube background, she's just kicked her dorsal fin up, so you can just see the white underneath. It's probably my best shot that I've taken with not much knowledge or experience. So it was an angel shark, a female.
All right. Right, you get some pretty amazing people on Fancy a Brew. And I know this is going to be difficult, this question. Who's been the most interesting, or are there several? Who are they? And if you feel you might upset some people, you can have a pass on the question.
Well, I'll go very corporate again on this, I think. Excuse me. So I choose people to come on rather than people generally don't approach me. Although I have had quite recently a reach out and said, if there's anyone who thinks they've got a decent enough story or they've got something to talk about, come on, we'll have a chat. I don't want to be this podcast that alienates every Joe Blogs diver that does 100 dives a year and only wants to talk to someone who does 1,000 dives a year, who's heavily well known and everybody knows their story. You've given me a chance to come and sell myself on your podcast now, or your YouTube channel, sorry. I can be that vehicle for somebody else, can't I? That perhaps wants to start things off, start the ball rolling on their YouTube channel or whatever. So I'd suggest each individual that I've had on have meant something totally different to me in my learning and development as a diver, whether it be a photographer or it be a technical diver or someone who's going to be a future instructor. So I really would struggle in 50 to highlight one person, short of Steve Kirkman, who was episode 1 and 2. He was the most influential to me to get me in the water. I think he really sells the BSAC in a massively positive light on his episode 1. He then talks about cave diving and rebreather diving on episode 2, which probably set the wheels in motion for me to go down that route. So I'd struggle to say anyone other than one of my best friends ever, the most influential people in my life would be Steve.
Great.
Can I add to that though? What I find hardest about running a podcast and I dislike the most is I feel it's very easy for me to try and want to build a friendship with my guest and build a rapport, and not necessarily I want to be around their house for dinner next Sunday, but when I feel that's not, given back, like when I've done the edit and I send them the links and they ignore the email and they don't really put it out there that they've been on to help publicize them as well. And it tends to be those that are more well known. And to some end, I get it. They can't be seen to advertising 100 different things. Well, I just would. So that I find hard. I'm not going to name any names, but that for me is the harder bit. Whereas I do.
You were great because you're up there now. And then I contacted you and you replied straight away. And I'm going to be the same. I'm planning on being a successful YouTuber, ScubaTuber. I invented that term, right? ScubaTuber.
Yeah, I love it.
When I'm gone, is that old bastard, Brian Davis, right?
Yes, mate.
Anyway, I think we've got another interview for you for your podcast. Now, Crid Hunter. Now, this guy, Crid Hunter, you're 34, I think. He left the US when he was 23. He hasn't been back. He was a very, very successful blogger and travel influencer and gave it all up just to shoot video and start a YouTube channel. He's been interviewed recently on a channel called Every Man's Got a Story. I think they're on episode 10 so far.
Right.
But he'll have you falling around the room when you do a podcast with him.
Ace.
So
I'd like to welcome him on. Absolutely. Yeah, we'll get in touch outside of this and we'll sort something out. 100%.
Yeah, no, he's a cracking guy.
Ace.
I'm laughing now because I'm definitely going to listen to that one from start to end. That's for sure. Right, that was good answer on the best guy, and yeah, it's good that you've shouted out to the guy that got you into it all. Really. Now we've talked about how the army have influenced you, and we mentioned that you were a British Army reservist. But what's the day job? What pays for the JJ?
Right, so my granddad dying last year paid for me JJ, but he left me a bit of money. But what pays the mortgage? So 9 to 5 sort of thing. I run my own property maintenance business. So anything sort of external to people's houses that needs just maintenance. So it could be gutter cleaning, could be lawn mowing, general sort of handyman type work, I'd suggest.
Yeah.
We've got in over the last few years with the local council, with a local letting agent. So we're very busy with that kind of work as opposed to how we started off. And today I've been spraying somebody's house for bed bugs. So we're pest controllers as well as, let's call them the stereotypical handyman that's perhaps more professional and specific in what we do. But yeah, pest control is probably the most exciting bit of my day job.
So how did you get into having your own company and stuff then?
Right. Well, I left school at 16, got an apprenticeship as a vehicle bodybuilder. I used to build double-decker buses. Finished that and went to join the regular army. But my wife at the time, she wasn't best pleased, to put it mildly and make it a really short story. So I didn't complete my basic training with the regular army. So that's where the reservist bit came in, kind of best of both worlds. Yeah. And I got employed by a roofing company then, and I worked for them for a number of years. And opportunity knocked at my door, where some government initiative, they were putting solar panels on people's houses as like a big thing. They were paying you to have them on and you earn a fortune off it and stuff. So a friend of mine wanted a roofing contractor, so I got on with him. And it turned out, for what I thought was like pop stars money he was paying me, like £100 a day, I thought was mega money then. If an afternoon, there's people on the street coming out saying, when you finish, can you come and look at this? And can you come and do that? And I'd be earning almost double or 3 times the amount this guy was paying me on the same little street that I was on through doing these little odd jobs. So I thought, right, well, I really need to sell my Audi now, don't I? And buy myself a little van. So I went from an Audi A4 S-Line to a little Fiat Doblo van. Shocking down. But I'll be honest, it was the single best move in my life that I've ever done, short of divorcing my ex-wife.
Yeah, well, yeah, she made you leave the regular army. I'd agree with you.
Well, it was more than that. But so I run a pest control business now that is quite specialised in what we do. So it's not just general handyman stuff, but, without going into finer detail.
But are you able to leave the business, to sort of run on its own for a while and go diving around the world and stuff, or do you need to be there?
Yeah, I need to be here. So it's me and my daughter. When she left school at 16, she had loads of anxiety issues, and I was going to be the crutch that she needed to sort of make a sustainable career. She needed that crutch, so it was a no-brainer. She came with me during the summer holidays. She helped me out, enjoyed it, and said, Dad, I don't want to go to college. I want to stay with you. So we did. It's just us, one van. We go around. We're busy every day, nearly all day. I've got enough money to pay the bills, enough money to do the diving that I want to do. And my daughter can take a wage from that, and everyone's happy. It's good. So no, I can't really do that. I'd love to. And I'm kind of, that would be my aim. Critter Hunter's business model, leave work to do YouTube. Yes, that is definitely something I'd like to do. So I can't wait to speak to him.
Yeah. What's he got there? Let's have a look. YouTube channel. What's he come up with there? Podcast. Yeah. Okay. Thought there were some more comments there. So I know you've been diving Cape and Ray a lot.
Yeah.
Cape and Ray is a quarry, an ex-quarry in the northwest of England, which is now been developed into a diving location. So I guess COVID-19 has disrupted the diving in the UK. Yeah. Once things are fairly much back to normal, what's going to be your first location to dive in the UK?
Oh, well, it's not. That's the thing. So our lockdown finishes on the 2nd of December, or supposed to. It's actually scheduled. And on the 3rd of December, I fly out to Mexico to dive the cenotes. So if that's a good answer. Yes, mate.
That's a brilliant answer.
However, if that doesn't come off because government guidelines say we shouldn't, I've checked on my holiday insurance. I am insured enough to stay here and get a refund. So to that end, I'll be going down to Plymouth to do my JJ course that I should have done last week. So that's the TDI closed circuit rebreather course on a JJ with Kieran Hatton. So we're going to dive out of Vobster Key first couple of days, and then potentially into NDAC, the National Diving and Activity Centre, I'm trying to think what it's around sort of Bristol area. I'm trying to think what the actual place is called. I don't think it's Bristol at all. I don't think I made that up. But either way, so we're diving there. It's because it's a lot deeper as a quarry, so we can actually touch the depths that we need to. So it's just a nitrox. It's mod 1 on a rebreather. So 40 meters is our limit for that.
All right. PJB's he's gone off. He's thanked us. Crid Hunter, latest PJB, and Dave's got a question. Did Andy say he has a pest control business? I think he qualifies for a government PPE contract.
Yeah. So
What's
on
that
the
about,
news
David?
last night, on the news last night, it was saying there's a company called PestX, and they are just literally a producer. I think they're like a chemical producer for pest control products, and they were awarded a multi-million-pound contract with the government to supply them with PPE. But the PPE never went through the correct vetting, so it was never appropriate. I think it was for the NHS, actually. So it was never appropriate for them to wear. So they've got all this money, supplied a load of shite, and they're clapping their hands all the way to the bank. So I think there's a massive investigation underway.
Yeah, welcome to
David,
liberal
it was
democracy.
Bobster, where we're going.
Yeah. I think he wants to know about Bobster.
Yeah,
David,
so
you want to
Bobster
know
Key,
more about?
I might be wrong, but I have a funny feeling it's around the sort of Bristol, sort of Bath area. And then Endac is, I can't think where it is. It's more sort of up towards Cheltenham, I think. New Forest sort of way. I'll have to check.
Oh, I'll have to check because I stay in Salisbury. I'm from Lincoln, but I stay in Salisbury because my brother-in-law left the military and my sister wanted to live in Salisbury. So that's where I usually am based out of when I go back home. So, and he's a diver as well. He learned in Cyprus. He was in the army at the time, but of course he just went and did the PADI and went all the way through to dive master. Very good diver. Doesn't breathe. His air consumption's amazing. David's back on. Oh, all right, David. We understand. Right. Right. Do you consider your channel a success?
In my eyes, yes. It's been more successful than I ever expected. Tenfold. I was like, how do you get to 100? 100's a massive milestone. And when you hit that 100, you can change your name of the channel to actually be the name you want it to be called. So in the URL, mine's like youtube.com/Andy the Northern Diver. Whereas if you've not got 100, it's not that. It's a load of just gobbledygook. Doesn't make any sense. And then when the 1,000 came around, I was like, I cannot believe. Honestly, I was absolutely blown away. In a success, if you compare them to people such like James, who's got Divers Ready, or what's the other guy, Mark from Simply Scuba, they are far and away more successful than me.
Yeah, well, Simply Scuba's just come back, hasn't it? It's
but they've got the backing of several magazines.
Yeah,
they've got big budgets. They are doing that full time, and they've been doing it for a number of years. So
but I've seen that their views on the new Simply Scuba, the views aren't as much as it was on the old. I think they're struggling. They've got 72,000 subscribers, which are legacy subscribers, but I'm not 100% sure they're getting the views that because there's no ads on their channel. I've not seen any ads.
Right. I'll be honest. Like I said to you outside of this, I think I'm too busy doing what I do, whether it be running my business, being a husband, being a father, or going diving and making a YouTube video, or talking to someone like yourself and then editing all that down in the post-production phase to have any time to watch anybody else's stuff, or better or worse still, looking what anybody else is doing. Honest to God, if people watch my stuff and I get at least one like, so a thumbs up, I'm made up. If within a day I've got 100 views on that video, I'd be absolutely proud as chuff.
Yeah.
It's when you get a thumbs down, it breaks me. But I'm really not comparing myself to anybody else.
I think some people, I'm sure there's some people out there who just like to do that, right? So, well, everyone likes this. Let me just, I think I've had one or two thumbs downs and it hasn't bothered me at all. because
if you
when you've got
multiples of them, then maybe you want to revisit what you've done and go, is it right? Is it?
Well,
Is
I think everyone who works for US Divers will be giving me a thumbs down this week after I just slated off their Ergo full face mask, and then at the end I put it on an aluminium cutting saw and cut it in two. Well, I didn't. Praveen did.
Yes,
right
mate.
at the end of the video, because it's dangerous, right? It's dangerous. So yeah, they might be giving me some thumbs down. Right, what have you got, Critter Hunter? Any basking sharks in your area?
He's taking the mic now. So
Well, he doesn't know where Wigan is.
Well, I think
he's from Colorado.
I think he's been doing some reading on me then, because we at the beginning of September we went up to Scotland, drove up to Auburn, got the ferry across to Col, and there was absolutely not one basking shark for the whole week.
And that's why you went?
That's why we went to go and see him. And the back end of Hurricane Laura was coming over, I think it was. So we got the tail end of it, and it's quite out at sea and quite exposed, to be fair, is Col. So it was just choppy. So you would never have seen that big dorsal thing going through. So we got the ferry home on the Sunday, and a couple of the guests that were there stayed on, and they went out on the boat, and it was flat calm, Brian. Oh, it was so beautiful. And guess what? Within half an hour, we're getting photographs. Look what we've seen, Andy, not meaning to rub it in. So they'd all seen basking sharks and we hadn't. So it's a bit
but we get them in the southwest as well, right?
Yeah, it's just the opportunity, isn't it? What we'd signed up for was a basking shark research trip with Basking Shark Scotland. So there's a nice little company up there. They run a diving operation, I think, through the winter, and then more of a basking shark research viewing platform during the summer when they're all up there. And it just seemed something different. We'd never been up to the West Coast. We'd always talked about it. So went up, and obviously it's nature, innit? You can't guarantee you're going to see a thing.
Yeah, that's true.
So we went up and never saw anything.
Right, Hunter's back on. Oh, he's on Simply Scuba next week. That'd be interesting.
Well, I don't want him on then. If he's on somebody else's podcast, I'm not interested.
Well, they don't generally have. They must be trying some new things, I reckon.
Yeah, I think they've started one. Yeah, they do this daily scuba, I think it is. So they're putting out like a 20
daily deco. Yeah.
That's the one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, it's not something I've listened to or would ever. I don't compare what I do to other people, because we're all within the same niche in the same marketplace, but we're all putting our own slant on it. If you were making a full face mask and I'd compare it.
Yeah.
But we're not doing that, are we? We're doing something totally different.
Well, yeah, I got into for the full face mask because I wanted to have a couple on the boat, right? Because it's just great to swim around the boat, or you want to go for a nice long swim with your fins on. Brilliant, easy. And then James at Divers Ready did this death mask issue, and he sort of said, all the knockoffs are dangerous, but the branded ones should be okay. They're from a reputable company. So I did my research, and it was Ocean Reef, SEAC, Decathlon, and Head. And Head looked just at the cop. I think they were branding an Ocean Reef, but I couldn't get them here. And then diveshop.ae has some good deals at the US Divers one. So I bought two, a large and a medium, so other people could use them. Then I thought, I'm a ScubaTuber. I'll do a review before I use them, because I can use the 80-meter pool up at the park height. They let me go in early in the morning to use it. And I thought this was going to be simple. I was just going to, because it looked well made, I thought I was just going to swim up and down for half an hour, say it's cracker. After 10 minutes, headache, couldn't,
really?
It was bloody dangerous. Yeah, so I might get sued.
They were trying to get them all together, weren't they, to use them as these positive pressure masks for people with COVID. They had
Ocean Reef did that. Ocean Reef did an adapter, and they also they put a filter on as well. So they are a very, very good company, and I've tested their one, and you'll find out next week. I was just working on it a bit today, if it's any good or not, right?
Awesome.
Critter Hunter, your baskings are my octopuses this year. I don't know where he gets these from. Oh, the side mount guy, Brock. How are you, man?
Hi, mate. Sorry I let you down. Sorry I let him down on that video the other day. I've pulled it. I'm going to redo it. He knows what I'm on about.
All right. Well, I'm hoping to have him on Let's Talk Scuba. I'm just waiting for him to confirm. That'd be cool. He seems to be a really, really nice guy.
Yeah, he's always been chatting with me. So I basically, long story short, I made a video last week, made a little boo-boo on it. He came up and told me, so I pulled it and I'm going to redo it and took some advice on it. Better to take advice than gob off and say, "Nah, you're wrong." He was wrong.
Yeah, no. Look, it's right. What are we going to see in the future? I mean, I've seen now you've got these how-to videos, which you had an Instagram sort of. What do you want me to do?
Yeah.
But have you got some stuff up your sleeve that you're willing to talk about, or?
Yeah. Well, I don't think there's any point being secret because once you start, someone else could always copy, and it's not like what I'm doing is anything new. If I had the perfect amount of time, the weather, the freedom, I'd be making a video dive site guide. So I've already done it for quite a few dive sites locally, but not in a way that I really want to. More like a video blog, So I'm Andy Northern Diver. Welcome to this dive site. This is the cafe. This is the parking. This is the entrance ways. This kind, almost like what you get in a dive site book, but a video version. So it's much more realistic to the diver that hasn't been to that dive site than just 2D looking in a book. And quite often it's a sketch, which it's not 100% accurate. So that would be, if and when I get the opportunity in the new year, that's where I'm hoping to be able to go with that.
Yeah, well, that's what with my Dubai diving sort of series and East Coast. Because we're always nearly always by boat. We don't have that many shore dives, and I'm just trying to show people the wrecks before, because we can get pretty poor vis. Like in the UK, we can get a lot of particulate in the water. It can be 2 or 3 meters, but this year, we've had up to 10 meters. And I've been lucky filming on some of those days. So when people go on the wreck, and if they can't orientate themselves immediately, they've seen the video, they can try and figure it out.
I love the back and forth on this message board. It's brilliant.
Sorry, I'm late to the party. That's fine. There's a Get your shit, Crudunter. Right, we're nearly at the end. I mean, the time just goes so fast on these interviews.
It does.
Advice for a budding scuba tuber.
Much like I didn't do to start with and left it very late in the game to start, YouTube do these content creator lessons, and they have like a bit of a schooling that you can go through. And that for me was the biggest eye-opener of how to make YouTube work. So there's loads of videos and loads of channels out there that say how to get 1,000 subscribers, how to monetize your account, your channel, how to do this, how to do that. And they're the ones that I watched that helped me create, or at least get people interested in watching my video. But the most important thing to keep them watching your video is make sure your content, I'm going to get some ribbon now off Brock. Make sure your content's correct, that it's in current sort of guidelines. Make sure it's fun and natural. Nobody likes it to be boring. And watch your mannerisms. That was a big thing I learned as an instructor in the army, is a lot of people have mannerisms that they just don't see. So it'd be saying "so" at the beginning of every sentence, or and twitching, closing an eye, pointing me a little finger, little silly things that people will pick up and go, "Why you keep doing that? Stop doing that." So that you can get them out in your edit process. In the post-production phase, you can look through and delete them and get rid of those, where people can slightly just find your videos a bit more annoying than interesting. It can push people away without you realizing it. So it's important to get them hooked. But once they're hooked, you've got to keep them entertained. And through that creative process, it's about learning. And there's loads of channels, like I said, out there. But then YouTube do the Content Creator Academy.
And they do updates, don't they, as well, every week?
Absolutely,
They put one out there.
But they're only minutes long as well. You don't need to watch them for 10 minutes. They're 2 or 3 minutes. They're great.
Yeah. All right, another comment up there from... It's late for him, eh? He's 8 hours in front of you.
He's ace. Oh, I can't wait to get him on. I hope Simply Scuba ruin him, so when I get him on, I can make him good again.
They'll give them a run for their money, that's for sure.
I bet.
No, you haven't got much time to watch YouTube, as you said, but what is your favourite channel? And it doesn't have to be scuba related.
Right.
Is there a channel that you do watch when you get a bit of time?
So there's basically, I've got 4. I'll be really quick on this. So
Yeah.
the 3 that I'd recommend for a new scuba tuber would be Think Media, Javan Dovey, and Nick Nimin. They're the 3 that I watch.
I like Nick Nimin. Yeah,
they're really good, and they do exactly what they're telling you to do in their channel. So you can see how that they run it, and how you can sort of emulate them. But when I'm interested in scuba, or if I'm going diving and I want a refresher, I watch a lot of Dan's videos, specifically Professor Simon Mitchell on his decompression stuff, talking about gradient factors and decompression controversy and all that sort of theory behind, decompression, because it's obviously the thing that I need to be getting into a lot more of, the type of diving that I'm doing. And if I need that refresher, I find that interesting. So Dan, for me, but specifically,
Dan Southern Africa have been putting out a lot of good content recently as well.
Right.
There's one I've got to watch. I've not watched it. It's about the older diver, so yeah, I'm dead interested in that, of course. What have we got in here? Hold on, I've got the wrong one there. There we go. Captain Eelgrass. The one video I showed my face. I lost 1% of my audience per second. If you watch Northern Dive, you can tell when he's over caffeinated. Brock's giving you some stick there. He's giving you some stick.
Nice.
Had 4K subs before. Now he has 83.
Legend. That's brilliant.
It's good.
These.
Yeah,
I might have to start having a go at these. They're quite fun.
Yeah, I love them. I love them. You don't always get a lot of people on live, but what I do see, people do watch them after, and I think they do like the rawness of it, right? Because you can make a mistake, you can swear, it's just the way it goes. Anyway, you've been a star.
Thanks, mate.
You've been even better than I thought you would be. And so
it's all the caffeine. It's all these brews I've been having.
Yeah, and tea has more caffeine than coffee, doesn't it?
I know.
Stuff we drink anyway.
My wife tricked me the week because honestly I drink so many cups of tea, it's horrendous, right? So I really struggle sleeping. But she swapped them out the other week, so we've got caffeine free at the minute. My head was banging for about a week, and she was laughing her head off every time I said I got this headache. It's withdrawal symptoms because I've not been having any caffeine at all. But I sleep like a baby now.
Brilliant. Well, one of the things I mentioned about this. Watching Dan South Africa, some other stuff about the aging diver, you've got to really keep hydrated. Apparently, it's one of the things because your blood gets thicker and pumping round. Of course, when I'm on the boat, I have about 3 cups of tea an hour. And what does tea do? It dehydrates you. So I'm drinking the tea. Then right, I've got to have a glass of water, cup of tea, glass of water, and then of course I want to pee all the time. Between dives, I keep my suit on. So what I have to do, I go down. We've got a little shower downstairs, right? I go in the shower, put it in.
Yeah.
Just pee in the shower. I can't.
I've got
to do without beer
on mine. Yeah.
You got a dry suit. I could do without beer. I couldn't do without tea.
Yeah, I'm probably the same. I have even been out on a night out and asked at the bar, "Can I have a brew?" No shit like. But yeah, I got a P valve, and because for the same reason, I don't want to be getting out my kit all the time. But I always, certainly on the ascent, I always need a lag. Or when I'm getting out the water, the last thing you need is trying to get all your set off, get your gloves off, and then try and undo your dry suit. It's just a faff. So I got one of them. But the amount of the catheter condoms that I've just burst. So I've got one warm leg and one dry leg, one very warm wet leg.
I never happened to me peeing in my dry suit, but God, it's the worst thing I could imagine. Taking your suit off and everyone just smelling that,
stinking. Oh, well, it's the pipe. If it just gets a kink in it, it just starts filling up like a balloon around your old man, and then all of a sudden it's just going to go in it. All good fun.
Chris Hunter, have you tried one of those? That's why we have P now. So. Anyway, it's been brilliant.
Yeah, mate,
for
thanks for having us on.
Everyone who tuned in and put up comments and that. Brock, good to see you on later on. That was good. Captain Eelgrass, great to have some North Americans, because I think it's about, on the eastern seaboard, about 11 a.m. at the moment, or just after 11 a.m. And on Pacific Standard Time, it's even earlier, I think. But anyway, you've been legend. That's the new sort of saying. You've been legend. Yeah, and brilliant. And I'm looking forward to you getting older, Critter Hunter.
Definitely,
I'll
mate.
try and give you some dirt or something, something you can use against him. Brian says this, put it all on me. Anyway, everyone, we've been on for nearly an hour and a half. The time just flies by.
It does.
I'd like to thank Andy once again. He's a busy guy, as you know. He's Army reservist, runs his own business, successful YouTuber, and he goes diving, photographing sturgeon in Cape and Rake Quarry. Yeah. So really, really good that he made the time to talk to us. I think this is going to get a lot of views. I think people are going to be extremely interested in what you've said. So with that, I'm going to click the end broadcast button.
Well, good night, everyone. Nice one. See you, everyone. Thanks for watching.